Abundance is a wavelength. Abundance is a frequency. It's an emotional frequency. There's actually this doctor, Dr. David Hawkins, who wrote a book called The Map of Consciousness, and he was able to map out which emotions align with which frequencies. He was a psychiatrist who proposed that emotions correlate to measurable energetic states. And there's actually this map that shows at the bottom is, shame at 20 and guilt at 30. And at the top is love at 500 and peace at 600. And enlightenment is even higher at 700 to 1,000. And so this guy, he was able to actually prove that low frequencies like shame, guilt, fear are restrictive. And high frequencies like love, joy, and gratitude are expansive. And so that's what we're talking about. This frequency is being able to tune in and call in abundance by allowing yourself to find higher states like love, joy, and gratitude.
Okay, so, and I'm looking at this chart here. It's such a cool chart. We'll have to send this to people if they ask for it because it is really cool to see it laid out like this and the different categories here. And so, abundance, it sounds like it's really a result of some of these other higher frequencies. Is that right?
Yes, yeah. So if you're looking on the chart and you're like, well, where's abundance on the chart? No, abundance isn't an emotional frequency. Emotional frequencies will give you abundance if you are at a higher frequency. So that means that if you are experiencing love and joy, you are at that higher frequency, and therefore you are calling in abundance by being in that state, by stepping into that frequency and living your life accordingly to that frequency.
Do you think it's because abundance can be in so many different categories? So if you are feeling that emotional frequency of love, then like you said, you're calling in an abundance of love. If you're feeling in that state of enlightenment, then you might have an abundance of like spiritual knowledge or enlightenment in general. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yes, yes, exactly. And if you are feeling abundance in love, like we had mentioned earlier, then you are more apt to feel abundance in joy and feel abundance in connections and family. Welcome to the Be Your Own Life Coach podcast, where you master your mind and coach your own comeback. You are the hero, you are the guide, and you will learn to architect your life from the inside. I'm your host, Britannia Stowe, joined by my sister and co host, Annika Wilder. Enjoy the show. Today, we are talking abundance. Yes, when we talk about abundance, a lot of people are thinking money, but it's more than that. Abundance is really a frequency, an entire way of relating to life and calling in resources, including money. With 2025 coming to an end and a new year beginning, we have a lot of desires and dreams and goals and resolutions. And we've talked about breaking a habit and creating good ones. We've even talked about gratitude, but we haven't really dug into abundance. So I thought now is a great time to talk about how this is a topic that we can call in by raising our frequency. And abundance is called abundance because there's more than enough for everyone.
I'm so excited, Britannia. This is something that I talk about all the time. And I know I always start every podcast with like, I'm so excited because you pick such good topics and abundance is something that's so important that can bless people's lives. Like you said, we talked about gratitude. Gratitude can bless people's lives. It could change their lives for the better. And so can having abundance, and you get abundance by having an abundance mindset, and that there's lots of different avenues with abundance. And you said it best when you said that there's just more than enough for everyone. This is something that I've always believed in abundance. I always believed that, but the moment that it hit me the most was in when I decided to go from my career, my salary paying job, to being a realtor. And I was scared because I'm in a small town with like 1,500 agents. And my mentor looked at me, and I trust him. And he said, there is more than enough to go around. There is enough for you to take. And I just chose to believe that. I chose to make an agreement with that. And I decided, yeah, there is. And if so and so can make $500,000 a year, if he makes 400,000 this year, like he's going to be fine if some of that comes to me. So having this idea, it's just the very simple idea that there's always more than enough money, more than enough love, more than enough energy. I mean, the list goes on, right?
Hmm. Yeah, well, absolutely. And you made such a great point. I think some people one struggle with the worthiness aspect, like am I worthy to call in these blessings, to be abundant? And often we go to the idea of, well, I'll be taking from someone else, but there is more than enough to go around, and abundance begets abundance. So the more abundant you are, you will help those around you become abundant. When you are abundant in one area, like say love, then you are more likely to be abundant in health. And I always believed that because when I was in a really dark time in my life and I felt like I didn't have health or money or love or any of the things I was seeking, I held on to the belief that if I could get in shape, then I could be healthy. And if I could be healthy, then I could be happy. And if I was happy, I could have a great job. And if I had a great job, I knew that I would have a fulfilling life and I would have my bank account full. And I just knew that if I could just grow one area and be abundant in one area, that the other areas would grow. But again, when we talk about abundance, so many people just go to money. And so I want to first, let's talk about all the different areas. And this is just a list, it's not everything that we can be abundant in. And the first one would be emotional abundance, feeling seen, feeling supported, cared for, and safety. You mentioned love. I would say that is separate. Being abundant in love is, having romantic love and love of self, or even energy. You mentioned energy as well. How would you define abundance in energy?
I mean, literally, like the energy that you have in the day. So, like the fuel, I mean, you could also think of like fuel for a car, but like what fuels you? What gives you motivation? What gets you up in the morning? Do you have physical energy to do the tasks at hand? I mean, you could say, I only have a finite amount of energy. My energy runs out. I get tired. I mean, these are like the mindsets and the thoughts that you play over and over in your mind that are actually limiting and coming from a place of lack instead of believing that my body can create more and more energy every day.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And, time, I feel like energy and time are kind of like sisters in that space. Having, being abundant in time is not being rushed and being a state of flow and trusting divine timing.
Yeah, time is super important because how often do people say like I just don't have time. I don't have time for family, I don't have time for working out, I don't have time for eating right, like everyone always says that and again it's they're in their own head playing it over and over creating that mindset. So a really simple affirmation would be I have all the time that I need.
Yes. And the truth is that we all have the same 24 hours in a day. Whether you are living on the streets or in a mansion, you have 24 hours. You do not get more time the wealthier you get or the older you get, right? We all have that same amount of time. And it's that mindset that shifts us into a place of realizing how much time we actually have. It's not only 24 hours. It's, oh my gosh, I have 24 hours.
Yeah, it's all about how you flip the coin. So what else can people be abundant in for Tanya?
Opportunities. So doors opening, connections, moments of alignment, even creativity. So free flowing ideas and inspiration and imagination and expressing those ideas. I would even say joy. Joy, you can be abundant in joy, everyday pleasures, music, dance. I know that you love to dance and sing just like I do. And we can be abundant in that. We don't have to be professional singers or dancers, though that would be a dream of mine. But we can just enjoy and call in and notice the areas that we can sing and dance with our friends, with our family, when we're alone. Here, there's an abundance that I don't think people even recognize. Where else maybe do you get joy that you can call in that abundance?
Well, I mean, we kind of mentioned already, but being with family just brings me a lot of joy. I moved into a new house recently and I looked at my little girl's room. She has a big canopy bed with like curtains all around her bed. It's like a princess bed, pink, purple, blue. And I saw there was toys everywhere. And I just sat on her floor and I had this overwhelmingly like extreme feeling of joy just sitting there because this was the life that I've always wanted was a life as a mother, a life with children. And I would take the days with the messes on the floor than the days without kids, right? And so
Mm.
that brings me so much joy to see the little toys and the canopy bed because I have kids. I've always wanted that. And so that filled me up. And when you have that full feeling, that is what you would say is like, I feel abundant.
Yes, absolutely. And I love that. Now I want to go see your little girl's room. And I would even add, health abundance and spiritual abundance. And of course, there's money, right? Financial resources to cover your needs, but also the freedom that financial resources give you. And that's just a few. Maybe there is a few other, forms of abundance that didn't come to mind when we were preparing for this podcast. And so I encourage you, our listeners, what is something that you feel abundant in that we did not list?
Yeah, I think that's super good to think about. For me, I think about how as I get older, it feels like my hair is thinning. And the more I say that, it speaks into like existence. And so I try to think, well, like, look how much hair I actually have. When I look in the mirror, I go, I actually have like millions of little strands of hair. My head is abundant with hair. So this is something that I'm working on right now to flip the script with my mentality of how much hair I have on my head. But in reality, like if you counted how many strands I have, it's it's at least thousands, right? I don't know about millions, but thousands. And if you put like 1,000 people in a room, you go, whoa, that's a lot of people. So because it just is they're little, it doesn't seem as much, but that's not true. I actually have thousands of strands of hair, so my head is actually abundant with hair.
Well, and you're not bald, Annika. Like, and there are people who wish they had half the hair that you have, right? And that can put us in perspective when we don't always realize, and we shouldn't compare ourselves to anyone else, but sometimes it's nice to, as you observe, you can realize, oh, I really do have it really great. The grass isn't always greener on the other side. Sometimes you just have to look down and see how green the grass is underneath your feet.
Yeah, which goes back to gratitude. So now that we kind of understand that you can have abundance in all these different categories in life, but Britannia, what actually is abundance? Like, is it a thing that you can hold? Like, what is it a feeling? What is abundance?
Abundance is a wavelength. Abundance is a frequency. It's an emotional frequency. There's actually this doctor, Dr. David Hawkins, who wrote a book called The Map of Consciousness. And he was able to map out which emotions align with which frequencies. He was a psychiatrist who proposed that emotions correlate to measurable energetic states. And there's actually this map that shows at the bottom is, shame at 20 and guilt at 30. And at the top is love at 500 and peace at 600. And enlightenment is even higher at 700 to 1,000. And so this guy, he was able to actually prove that low frequencies like shame, guilt, fear are restrictive. And high frequencies like love, joy, and gratitude are expansive. And so that's what we're talking about. This frequency is being able to tune in and call in abundance by allowing yourself to find higher states like love, joy, and gratitude.
Okay, so, and I'm looking at this chart here. It's such a cool chart. We'll have to send this to people if they ask for it because it is really cool to see it laid out like this and the different categories here. And so, abundance, it sounds like it's really a result of some of these other higher frequencies. Is that right?
Yes, yeah. So if you're looking on the chart and you're like, well, where's abundance on the chart? No, abundance isn't an emotional frequency. Emotional frequencies will give you abundance if you are at a higher frequency. So that means that if you are experiencing love and joy, you are at that higher frequency, and therefore you are calling in abundance by being in that state, by stepping into that frequency and living your life accordingly to that frequency.
Do you think it's because abundance can be in so many different categories? So if you are feeling that emotional frequency of love, then like you said, you're calling in an abundance of love. If you're feeling in that state of enlightenment, then you might have an abundance of like spiritual knowledge or enlightenment in general. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yes, yes, exactly. And if you are feeling abundance in love, like we had mentioned earlier, then you are more apt to feel abundance in joy and feel abundance in connections and family. And so, one of the ways that you can call in abundance to raise your vibration is to, do a few things like we talked about gratitude. Gratitude is one of the highest activators of abundance. It truly is and that's why we did an episode on it. When you are grateful, when you look around and you actually count your blessings like you're counting the hair on your head, you'll realize you have so much more than you thought you had. Uh, you know, I also feel like we sometimes get in this mindset of like, oh, say your hair again, like, oh, I'm thinning, my hair's falling out. And you kind of trick yourself into thinking that you don't have a lot of hair. But if you start acting like you're in a Pantene commercial and you're shaking your head and you're like, oh my gosh, I just have so much hair, then you'll start to level up your frequency and you'll notice that you will actually grow more hair. It won't just look thicker and feel thicker, but your body will respond. You will respond because you have now leveled up in this frequency.
And that's something that I love to practice. So even if you find like a penny on the ground or a quarter, I mean, everybody has found loose change somewhere in your car, in your house, outside, on a hike or whatever. You can pick that up and go, oh my gosh, I'm so abundant. Like I am 1 penny richer than I was a second ago. And it sounds silly because it's 1 penny. What difference is that going to make? But the difference is in your mindset. The difference is in how you received it. So then the
Mhm.
universe is like, "Oh, like you liked receiving money? Let me give you more." And then you get more and you're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so abundant. I just got another dollar."
Mhm.
Like this is the type of attitude and thoughts and conversations that you want to have with yourself, especially in regards to money, because I am a testament that I know this works.
Yes, I love that. And I would even say with pennies, they don't make them anymore. So if you find a penny, not only are you that much richer, but you actually have a rare artifact because you're not going to find pennies for very much longer. They're not going to be around.
Oh, sad day.
I know. I love pennies. So if you don't like your pennies, send them to me. I literally have a collection of pennies.
So the goal here to become more pendant is to show gratitude for what you have and to act as if you are already abundant, like
Mhm.
speaking it into existence. What about just like all of the scarcity beliefs that people have?
Yeah. I mean, if you are, waking up and thinking, I, don't have a big house, I don't have a, a fancy job, or I don't have all the clothes that I want. If all of your thoughts are thinking, I don't have enough, then the universe will respond to that frequency of lack. And so you have to shift out of that scarcity mindset. You will literally block your blessings by having that. So you want to clear any of that. And one of the best ways is to, flip it on its head. So if you're saying, oh my gosh, I'm balding, oh, change that around. And oh no, I have such voluminous hair. Or, I know that I struggle sometimes feeling like I have enough time with a baby. And instead of going, I don't have enough time to do all these things, I go, I have just as much time as I need. Because the truth is, I'm able to take care of my baby. I'm able to do this podcast. I'm able to work. Maybe I don't have hours to be in a bubble bath or to go get a massage right now, but I have exactly enough time. And if I continue to change my mindset and focus on what I do have, those scarcity beliefs will start to dissipate. You'll also want to surround yourself with like abundant signals. And so that could be, something as simple as a tree or a plant that is sprouting new leaves. There are actually money trees, and I think they're bamboo. The East believe that if you have one of these money trees in your house, that you'll become more abundant. But any plant, if you surround yourself with something that is growing, expanding, that encourages you also to grow and expand.
I love that mindset, looking around you and seeing the trees grow and applying it to yourself. Like if the trees are growing, so am I. I think
Hmm.
that's really good. I think that also being open to receiving. So I know there's this like thing that people do when they shake hands. Like you can open your hand like this, or you can like go in to shake your hand with a closed hand, and one indicates that you are more open to a connection to receiving, and the other one shows that you're closed off or scared. It's a very simple thing. I learned this years ago. And so I decided to make a habit of always slightly angling my hand up when I shake hands with people to show that I am open. And this is a very small gesture that you can do. Same thing if you're in fists all the time, or if your arms are folded all the time. This is you actually closing off your energy. If you're crossing your legs, I mean, we talk about this. I mean, you know more than me, like in yoga, right? You want to open up physically, and that also it kind of exposes your aura, your heart energy that Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about, and it opens you up to receiving more.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny that you bring up yoga because doing things like yoga, practicing mindfulness, finding rest will help you also call in that abundance. I would even add becoming a yes woman or a yes man. Now, this does not mean that you don't have boundaries, but I think of that Jim Carrey movie, Yes Man, where he was miserable and he said no to everything. And then he went to that, conference and he's like, no, you're going to start saying yes. And he did. And some of it was ridiculous. And of course, he took it too far. It's a great movie. You got to watch it. But what it did is it helped him see opportunities by saying yes more. Instead of looking for reasons why you can't do something, look for the reasons that you can.
And another way to do that, this is a quick verbal fix too. I can't remember his name. I want to say his name is Vin or Bin. He's this guy who's always talking about language. He says instead of saying like, yes, but I don't agree or whatever, you could say yes and. So switch out the word but and make it and, so that not only does it stop negating what the first part of the message that you just said when you're having a conversation, but it also shows that you're open to more possibilities and is an addition. It's not this or that. It is this and this.
This is why I think everyone should do improv because that's one of the first rules of improv, right? Is yes and when someone offers you, a role like you're on a stage and they go, "Oh, Dr. Annika Wilder, I didn't expect to see you today." You don't go, "I'm not a doctor." You go, "Yes, I am, and I am a doctor of, animal psychiatry." And you yes and it, right? And that's what makes the story and the play and the presentation, the show so enjoyable, right? Life is the same way. Be a yes and person. So, what we're trying to say here when you're calling in abundance is, what you resist persists and what you accept transforms. And that's what Dr. Hawkins said is that, if you allow yourself to step into these places of abundance in other areas, either acting or being restful or recognizing how many blessings you have, you're no longer resisting and you're becoming more expansive and open. And you'd mentioned this earlier with yoga that you can literally feel the difference in your body. It isn't just how you look, right? With my arms open wide, I look expansive, but I actually feel expansive. That's why there are power poses. Annika, you were actually the first person to teach me power poses that you do before a room that help you feel more powerful. Do you want to share some of that?
Oh man, it's actually been a while, but I learned this from Tony Robbins. And so, if you ever listen to any of his conferences or his events, he will have you get on your feet and dance. He'll also do this thing where you're like moving your arms really fast, but you're not moving your legs. You're just moving your arms, and it's just supposed to like pump you up. For me, I tend to slouch. And so I just roll my shoulders back and take a deep breath and try to make myself appear more confident than I am. And then I feel more confident. So Tony Robbins is a big proponent of physiology first. So if you're having a hard time not feeling abundant, not feeling like these things are possible, like you think, oh, yeah, this would be great. I would love to be abundant. I would love to have these things you're talking about, but I'm stuck, then try the physiology first. Try moving into those power poses. What does an abundance person look like? Are they slouching? Is their head down all the time? Or are they smiling? Are they sitting up straight? Or do they walk swiftly or slowly? I mean, think about somebody that is abundant and how do they act, and then bring that into your body. And it's not pretending, it's just bringing in your physiology first so that your brain gets a signal of, oh, maybe there's something to this.
Yes. Well, and another expert, I'm glad you brought up Tony Robbins. You had also mentioned Dr. Joe Dispenza, who really does talk about how abundance is a mindset, that how thoughts and emotions create neural patterns that determine perception, behavior, and outcomes. So the elevated emotions, like in the Map of Consciousness by Dr. Hawkins, like love, gratitude, hope, they actually shift your psychology into thinking expansion. So your brain literally levels up, literally create new neural pathways. So now you're opening up to perceive more opportunities and more blessings that you couldn't see in a more restrictive or fearful state.
Yeah, I recommend everyone studying Dr. Joe Dispenza's work because he's been studying this for decades. And he actually talks about how the brain is not really in charge, but your heart is. Your heart is the one creating this like frequency that then communicates to the brain. And so you have to get your heart in the emotional, energetic state so that it can communicate to the brain, and then it can then attract that abundance. You don't have to force things to happen. Once you change your energy, like Dr. Joe Dispenza says, like once you change your personality, which is your personal reality, he says, then you can attract things coming to you. Like all of a sudden, opportunities will arise, new relationships will arise. You'll find money on the street, or have you ever gotten a check in the mail from the IRS because you got a refund? Like things like this will start happening because you are changed, not that you're forcing it and looking for it and you're working really hard. This is kind of the mentality of working smarter, not harder. If people just understood how important it is to change their energy to attract more opportunity, then things will go a lot smoother for them in every avenue of their life.
Well, absolutely. And that's what Bruce Lee would talk about. He would talk about it's not about chasing, it's allowing, it's noticing and accepting. Abundance is fluid. And so be like water, allow it to rush, allow it to slow, just allow it to be, and therefore it is.
I love it. I was waiting for the Bruce Lee quote. These are your favorite
If I
guy.
can bring up Bruce Lee in every conversation, I will.
No, but it's true. It's true. It is a flow state. And I think that the reason why I've been successful in real estate is because of changing that mindset, changing my energy. Things worked out for me a lot smoother and easier than some other realtors who are like, work, work, work. Why isn't this, why aren't people coming? Like, I need to call 1,000 people. Like, I've never called 1,000 people in a day because I changed my energy. I just believe people are going to come to me, and the people I want to work with me, I will attract. It doesn't mean just sit around. Like you have to put in the work. But if you change your energy and then put in the work's a lot easier.
Absolutely. And, science has been able to back this. So there is a nonprofit called the Heart Math Institute, and they have discovered that emotional states affect the heart's electromagnetic field and coherence. And coherence is the state at which your heart and mind and emotions are all working in harmony. So this is characterized by stable rhythm, also known as HRV or heart rate variability. And they've been able to see that when your heart and brain are in coherence, you can reduce stress and you can perform higher. So there are athletes and business owners that have gone to the Heart Math Institute so that they could perform better, so they can make more money, so they can be a better boss, so they can be a better athlete. And so when we're talking about, frequency, we're talking about actually changing this HRV that can allow you to be in more of a peaceful and harmonious state and call in these abundance vibrations and get out of that mindset of fear or shame or scarcity. I mean, the fact that our science literally backs this up should help people understand that this isn't just woo woo, that if you can allow yourself to find these states, that you can call in almost anything into existence into your life.
That's so cool. I love that there's so much science behind this, that this isn't just our opinions or, anecdotal. Like there's real evidence here and real studies. And I know I believe it. I mean, you could think about prayer. Prayer is like setting your intention. It's simply just communicating beyond your ego self. So whether you're religious or spiritual or not, there is a practice of praying or meditating or speaking into an existence that can change your energy. And I know I was just telling you the other day that I felt complete calm come over my body. Like my energy changed in moments because of a prayer that I was saying. And then all of a sudden it like my whole entire body changed. And anyone can do this, whether you believe in God or not. You can do this just by intention, just like speaking it to an existence or changing your thoughts, changing your emotions. It is that simple. And once you do that, then you're open your whole self to more.
Absolutely. And that's what we're trying to say is that life is happening for you, right? That the universe is conspiring for you, not against you. But often we're against ourselves and we're fighting ourselves. So allowing yourself to get into more of a peaceful state will help you. Now, one of the things that came up when I was writing this is I was thinking about how when you're bowling and there's bumpers, and, sometimes if you're bowling with the bumpers on, you still get a strike and you have a straight shot and it's great. And it's, amazing to get that strike. But sometimes you hit a bumper and the bumper is not to tell you that, oh, you failed, give up. It's a redirection. And I feel like it's important to be able to allow yourself to let the universe talk to you. And if you are off your path, maybe you do feel some anxiety, maybe there is some fear. So allow them to be signals, redirects that allow you to get back to a more abundant state. So when you're getting bumped and it looks like things are falling, it's actually falling in line. Remember that some things have to fall away before you can make room for abundance to come in.
Yeah, it's like how you say stay curious. Like instead of saying like, "Oh, this isn't working out, nothing's working," you could say, "Huh, that's interesting. Why is that happening? Let's see what happens if I do this instead." And not only are you staying curious, but you're staying open instead of being rigid to having things go a very certain way because like you said, the universe is working for you and will nudge you in the right direction. And if you're open to it, it's going to be a lot smoother. If you resist it, it's going to feel painful.
Absolutely. And so, as we talk about abundance, we gave a couple of ideas and suggestions on way that you can call abundance in. But for our coach yourself segment, I do have a few other things that you can do, exercises that will help bring you more abundance in your life. And again, that could be money, that could be love, that could be health. So, one of the first things that you want to do is journal where you're currently experiencing abundance. And the example could be like, I have time to run my errands. Creative ideas flow to me every day. Don't focus on how the errands you're in, traffic and you get stressed. And don't think about what the creative ideas, how you don't have time to take action on all of those. Just focus on the positive side that I do have time to run my errands and I do have creative ideas flowing to me. So journal first where you're experiencing abundance, and this will help raise your vibration, but also your awareness to where you might be experiencing abundance that you didn't know you were experiencing abundance. Annika, what would be another suggestion?
There's actually some music that you can listen to. You can get it on Spotify, YouTube, where we talked about those frequencies before. So you can find high vibration, binary beats, or there's artists that put out high vibrational music, and it could be meditation music. It could be, music with some words, but a lot of the times it's more instrumental, and you can literally just listen to that for 15 minutes while you're getting ready or as you're winding down at night. And then, as you're winding down at night, you can just have a very simple thought of, something amazing is going to happen to me tomorrow. And it's just that easy, and go to sleep. I mean, how wonderful would it be to fall asleep to that thought?
Because what you fall asleep to, you'll wake up to.
Hmm.
I love that. And I would also say, when you're looking for abundance, be open to receiving forms of abundance that maybe you didn't expect. So maybe you are wanting more financial resources, but all of a sudden a new man enters your life and you now have love. Abundance begets abundance, and the universe has a plan. God has a plan for you. Maybe there's a reason why you're going to be abundant in love before you're abundant in money and financial resources. So don't get mad if you get abundance in a different area than maybe you expect, because usually they stack and they build and they expand.
Hmm. And you're a big fan of like visualization. And I know that you have a really wonderful visualization for abundance. I think it's super powerful. And I would love for everybody to hear what that could be. Do we have time to do that?
Yeah, let's do that real quick. Now, you don't have to close your eyes, but if you are at a place that you can, I encourage you to do so. Otherwise, in your mind's eye, I'd like you to bring your awareness to a glass. Imagine a glass half filled with water. This acknowledges all the abundance you already have. Label the glass by picking up a gold pen and writing on the glass the abundance you specifically are seeking. Now imagine a large glass pitcher filled with water. This pitcher is the universe, God, or your higher power ready to pour into you. But before you grab the handle to pour, you notice you placed a lid on top of the glass. This could represent fear or doubt, so you remove it, removing the fear and the doubt from blocking your abundance. Now grab the handle of the pitcher and feel the weight of the abundance that is already yours. Start to pour the pitcher of water into your glass. Watch as the water fills quickly and starts to pour over the edges of the glass. Keep pouring. The water that overflows from your glass now falls into the glasses under yours. Those glasses fill and spill over into more glasses. Your abundance is creating abundance for others. You notice that the pitcher never runs out of water as you continue to pour. Say to yourself, I am abundant in whatever I am seeking. This visualization helps you know that not only is it okay for you to call in blessings, but that they're already yours. And in so many ways, we block those blessings. And as you call in abundance, know that you are not taking from anyone else. Abundance is something you don't chase. It's something you allow, something you attune to. And while you may be seeking abundance in one area of your life, recognize that you are already surrounded by abundance, even more than you realize. This has been another episode of the Be Your Own Life Coach podcast. If you found value in today's conversation, subscribe and share the love. And remember the teachings of Lao Tzu. When I let go of what I am, I become what I might be. Until next time, trust yourself, take the wisdom, take the breath, and take the next step.